Welcome back to the Spring Legal Research Refresher. This video will discuss Citator services, aka how to find out that your case is still good law. All legal research platforms have a Citator service, which is basically a service that shows you how your case has been dealt with by subsequent cases or statutes. This helps you to know your case hasn't been overruled since it was published. Here's how to use a Citator. Say you want to use a case. You would then click on Key Citer Shepherds to see the full treatment and the full list of primary law that's cited to the case after it was published. Using the Citator services is something of an art, but for now we'll rely on some big overarching rules. 1. Avoid cases that have been overruled. Your rule of thumb for this assignment is to avoid cases that have been overruled or criticized by higher courts, generally marked with a red symbol or a red stop sign. If your case has a green symbol, or without any subsequent citations, that usually means it's a fairly new case, or there hasn't been a lot of commentary about it. This may mean that no other courts have discussed your case yet, or that they've mentioned it in a positive way. Either way, you can use it. The last option is by far the most common. Most cases you'll find will be marked with some sort of yellow or cautionary symbol. This means that your case has been discussed in some detail by other cases. This doesn't mean to not use the case necessarily. Lots of great cases have cautionary symbols. Some bedrock Supreme Court rulings will be marked with a yellow symbol. Here's some examples. In my experience, the vast majority of cases that are used have that caution symbol. So if your case has been criticized or distinguished with subsequent review, the legal publishers will slap on the cautionary label. Now, does this mean that you wouldn't use the case? No, it just means that you need to do some more detective work. Here's what to do. When deciding whether or not to use a yellow flagged case, you'll ask yourself two questions. 1. Did the case criticizing your case come from a higher level court in your jurisdiction? If so, you'll probably want to avoid using your case. Was the case you want to use marked with a distinguished by note? This means that a court looked at your case after it was decided and ruled that the facts of your case were different than the facts of the case then before the court. The court came up with a new interpretation by saying the facts of the earlier case before were different, so they didn't have to use the case law set forth by the case you want to use. In other words, distinguish means that the facts of the original case differ from the facts of the case you want to use. Here's an example. When you see distinguished by note, you'll want to do a quick factual analysis. To do this, you'll compare the facts of your fact pattern to A, the case you want to use, and B, the case criticizing your case. And ask yourself, which one is your fact pattern more like? Here you need to see whether your case is more like the original case or the distinguishing case, and choose whichever fact pattern is closer to your own. Okay, that's a lot of material we've covered in a short amount of time. Let's do a quick recap. When you're using a Citator service, again, for this class, you're going to avoid red flag cases. In practice, there are limited times when you can use a red flag case, for instance, if the case was overturned on other grounds. But for this spring, a bright line rule is to avoid cases marked with a red symbol since they have been subject to heavy criticism or have been overruled. The second broad strokes rule is that generally you can use green flagged cases, or cases that don't have a lot of commentary with them. On Westlaw, it will look like it just doesn't have a symbol assigned to it. The legal publishers generally just assign a green symbol or don't assign a symbol when there's not a lot of commentary about a case. So basically the case is fresh and you can probably use it. The vast majority of cases, including those that are most frequently cited before the courts, will have a cautionary symbol, which is usually indicated by a yellow flag. This generally shows that there's a good bit of commentary or citation about your case. This is fine. In fact, this later treatment can be a good thing because it shows that your case is frequently cited and that it's well used. But if there's a cautionary symbol, you'll also want to ask two questions. A, you're going to ask if the criticism comes from the higher court in your jurisdiction, in which case you probably shouldn't use the case that you want to use. And then B, you're also going to want to ask yourself if the court's commentary is about distinguishing the facts of the case, in which case you'll want to read both the case you want to use and the case that the court distinguished. So you'll look at both of those cases in that instance. That concludes the section on making sure your case is still good law. Please feel free to contact us at the reference desk if you have any questions or if you're not sure if you can use something, or if you have any questions about what something in the Citator service means. We're happy to help.